it's Lee from ColouringQueen.net, and today I would like to show you an extended review of The News Carries Through the Forest. Now this is a Polish colouring book and it's oversized, so I'll just show you what it's like up against World of Flowers in a minute. Now if you would like to see a short flip through of this book, please click the link below. This is going to be the extended review and I'm going to test out some mediums on here and see how it works with the paper. Later on in the week I'll be colouring a picture for this, which I'll upload as a colour and chat. So without the spiral binding, you can see how big it is up against World of Flowers. So it's an oversized colouring book. And to give you an idea, I've had to rearrange my desk in order to film this book and also stand on a stepladder to make sure it's filming properly. So it is a much bigger book than usual. Now the good news is that all of the colouring pages for the book are printed on one single side, so once we get past the initial part of the book I'll be able to zoom you in to look at those pages. Now it has a card cover which is a laminate, so it's smudge proof. I've put my hand on it numerous times in the last week or so and haven't managed to dirty it. So it's a smudge proof cover with a gorgeous coloured picture on there, which is from the book. And what's interesting is that it looks like a watercolour splashy effect, and it's a great way of just washing over colour on an image and getting a great effect even without colouring in all the details. And I often say to people, do a water wash or watercolour wash if they've got a minor visual impairment. So that's an example of that. So it's spiral bound, so it's art quality. And you also receive with it a lovely little card to colour in. It's got like a little pixie on it with a poinsettia. Now I did receive this card in another book and I thought it belonged with that book, but it actually belongs with this one. And it's also personally signed by the artist. Now the initial pages of the book all comprise text in Polish, and I could run a scan and translate app over it and try and decipher it, but I believe what it talks about is the woods and the fairies and the creatures that live in the woods. So we've got all these lovely pages at the beginning with this story, and there's a few little elements to colour in there, which is where I thought that I would test out my mediums. Now the paper is white and it's very thick, and I believe it's 170 GSM. Now this artist is really diverse. When I was looking at this book, I went and looked at her artwork, and I have to say this book is not really a reflection of everything that she does, because her artwork is amazing. She is so diverse. So we're at the start of where the colouring pages actually start in this book, and they're all printed on single-sided paper with no text on the facing page. So what I'll do is I'll zoom you in so we can have a look at those. Now you'll see that there's a cutting line along here. The pages aren't perforated, so that's just for you to cut out. Now because the theme of the book is the forest, this one's got all forest and elves and everything that you would expect to find in the forest. But if you're more gravitating towards beautiful portraits and geishas and beautiful women, then check out her store in the link below, because you'll find the most amazing portrait art. I love these cutesy pictures, and it took me ages to figure out which one I was going to colour in, but I think I finally decided on one, which is this one. So I'm hoping that this is the one that I'm going to do. I think it was that one. I forgot to mark it up. But look at all those gorgeous mushrooms, and we've got the cute little frogs and the tree and the little stairs going up. And what I really like about this book is that the line art is nice and black and thick, So if you have a minor visual impairment, or your eyesight's not as good as it once was, like mine, then it's easy to see the lines. And because the paper is so thick and it's printed on single-sided paper, you can use markers or whatever you might fancy on the page. Oh, actually, I think, was it this one I was going to do? I can't remember now. It was one of those two. I've forgotten. But look at the cute little bunnies in their little bunny hole, and she's curled up and having a sleep. It's so sweet and cute. But if you like the more realistic pictures, then check out her store at the link below. Now, as well as doing all these beautiful illustrations for her colouring pages and colouring books, she also does the most amazing murals, and she does them for children's orphanages. So she does fundraisers to raise money for the supplies, and then she comes in and does these gobsmacking murals. They are just amazing. Look at all this. It's a beautiful nest, and then she's curled up there. I reckon she's looking for a picture in a colouring book to colour. But look at the gorgeous little animals, and there's so much detail, but yet the lines are really black and thick, so really easy to see. Not only does she paint beautiful murals for orphanages, create pages and colouring books, but she also upcycles furniture, does beautiful art paintings, and as I said, her artwork is really diverse. There's a huge variety in it. So look at her, she's playing the harp. And this one's got a lot of little black dots in the background, a lot of little splatters there for texture. I'll put a link to her account where you can see these beautiful murals that she paints. Isn't that gorgeous? Just every single page I think, oh no, maybe that's the one I'll colour in instead. I keep changing my mind on this. Look at all these beautiful little mushrooms, aren't they lovely? And our delicate little fairy at the top. So all the pictures are really well centred on the page, and most of the line art is a really bright black, but this one's a bit duller, but most of it is really bright black and super easy to see. A different style of picture here. She's got the honeycomb in the back with the bee there. So some have a lot of background imagery to them, and some have larger elements to colour. So there's kind of something for every mood that you might be in. We've got cutesy little animals here. Look at him peeking through the rushes there. And the bunny rabbit, and even the little caterpillar. You can look at this for a while and still see other things in it. And the line art at the back is a lot finer, showing that it's in the background. Look at this gorgeous lady up against the riverbank or the lake bank there. And see how her hair is flowing into the branches. And we've got another beautiful woman. She's got a little armband on. And it's a more realistic portrait of the woods than the cutesy ones that we've seen earlier. So I like that there's a mixture between sort of sweet and cute, like these little birds, and more realistic, like our deer here, or I think it might be a moose. And then we've got our little pixie here, and she's playing the spider web. And we've got a little male over here. So you see all different things every time you look at it. I've looked through this book quite a few times, and it hasn't shown any sign of wear and tear. And I'm still having trouble working out which picture I want to colour first, because I get attached to all of them at different times. Like, look at this topography view. And you've got all the little hills and all the little trees there. There's so many different things to see in this book and so much variety. But her artwork is really diverse. Honestly, have a look at those murals and her Etsy page, because she has some amazing art, and she also has coloured art for sale as well, printed art. So what I thought I would do is, and I love this wash on the back as well, I would just test out some mediums on one of those ancillary pages at the beginning of the book, so that we can see how this really thick paper behaves with our pencils. And I'm going to zoom you in to do that. Now the first pencils I'll test are my Prismacolors. I just might go on this leaf here, and I'm standing up to do this because of my desk setup. I can't quite reach it at the moment. So it's going on super smoothly. It's blending really well. It's no problem adding extra layers, and none of the tooth is showing. So really happy with the way the Prismacolors are going on there. Okay, let's try the polys. And I'm sticking with the green theme here. So it's going on very smoothly. I feel the Prismacolors went on smoother, but we'll see. They do feel nice. I am a bit biased towards my Prismas though, but I would definitely use these on the book. And they're covering the tooth. You can add multiple layers. They're blending and they're smoothing out really well. So yes, I'm pretty pleased with the Prismas and the polys. So I know someone will ask me if they can use watercolours, and of course it's not watercolour paper, but let's give it a whirl. So I've got some Neocolor 2, some Inktense and some Prismacolor watercolours. So we'll try the Neocolor 2 first, and that's going on very nicely. It's not pilling the paper. It's taking it very well. Now with watercolour you do need to let it dry in between, so we'll give that a second to dry and then we might come back to it. And I've just got my small set of Inktense here. So this is the Inktense. These definitely need sharpening. And please note I'm standing up, so I can't get a very close to the page at the moment just because of the way my camera is set up. So we've got two colours there with the Inktense. Oh, they're beautiful. Oh, this book is loving the Inktense. Gorgeous. And then I'll try my Prismacolor. Now I've only got a small set of 12 of the Prismacolor watercolours, but that's enough. So we'll just see how that goes. And again, very nice. My favourite of the watercolours, they're all going on very nicely, but the Inktense is just so bright. It's just so beautiful. Now, that Neocolor hasn't really had enough time to dry, so it would be a bit cheeky to put another colour on it, but I'm going to live life dangerously and put another colour over that. And it really hasn't had long enough to dry, I don't think. Yep. So the second colour's going on fine, so that's good. It looks like this paper can take quite a bit. I wouldn't saturate it in water because it's not watercolour paper and it's not designed to absorb, but it certainly is going on, and if you're sparing with your water and you allow it to properly dry in between layers, and as I said, if you're sparing, then you should be able to use it with your watercolours as well. Now I'll just test it with markers to see if it does bleed through, because it's very thick paper, but remember the illustrations are on single pages, so of course you can use those and use those with markers without bleed through. So I've got a Copic and a Tombow marker. The Copic is alcohol based, so normally this will bleed through the page, and the Tombow is water based, so normally it won't bleed through. but depending on how thin the paper is. Now this is thick paper, so we'll see. So the Tombow markers are going on super smooth. I haven't used my Tombows for so long. I really must use them in something. And let's try out this Copic. And let's see. Now what's interesting there is that it was actually the Neo colour, probably because I didn't dry it in between, that's come through on the other side. But my Copic and the Tombow didn't. But remember, this is on the double-sided part of the book, and all the illustrations are actually on single pages. But just to make sure, I would just pop something in between it. And if you're using watercolours, I'd make sure that you dry it in between watercolours, because that's probably what made mine bleed through. It wasn't dry enough. So that's it for The News Carries Through the Forest. You've probably seen Millie walking across that book just then. She always likes to get in on the action. Now I'll be back later in the week and I'll show you which picture I'm going to colour, and I'll start colouring it with you guys later in the week. If you like this video, please click the like button below. And if you're not subscribed to my channel, please click the subscribe button and hit that little bell, and then you'll be notified when I upload a new video. Until next time, happy colouring.